You're listening to the Sales Development Podcast, the only audio forum focused and dedicated 100% to sales development. If you care about growing your skills and getting more new sales appointments, pipeline, and closed-won deals, you came to the right place. Subscribe to the show on YouTube, iTunes, or Spreaker, and be sure to go back and listen to all the episodes for the best strategies, tips, and tactics out there on running a high-performance sales development program. And now, your host, founder, and CEO of Tenbound at Tenbound.com, David Dulany.
Hello, everybody. This is David Dulany with the Sales Development Podcast. Thanks a lot for joining us today. It's just me. We're going to be going into some of the stuff we've been working on over here at Tenbound and how it can potentially support you. And, oh, man, I am just super excited about the recent conference that we had on August 30th, a couple weeks ago now. Over 350 people showed up. The Ritz-Carlton was amazing. All the people that worked there that supported us, all the folks who helped us put it on, the sponsors, the speakers, the panelists. I'm still getting rave reviews from everybody who was able to participate, and we learned a ton, and we're definitely going to do it next year. We probably grew out of the Ritz-Carlton this year because we had maxed out capacity, but one of the things that we heard that people really liked was having the 2-track sessions. So this year we had leadership in the main room and then a tactical session for reps in one of the breakout rooms. And there was almost a 50-50 split, which was amazing. You know, we were excited that people would invest and pull their teams out of the office for a whole day to come and learn from some of these speakers. We had some amazing speakers. I'm so grateful to all the speakers that came out. This was like the who's who of the sales development industry. And, you know, there's a ton of feedback coming through about people just really, really enjoyed learning from the speakers and had a great time. So all in all, the conference was awesome. We're thinking about expanding it out to different locations, and we're even starting to dip our toes in the water in Boston. So right now I'm working with Liz Kane, who is one of the speakers. She's a partner at OpenView out in Boston, and we're putting together a meetup in Boston for sales development, management, reps, anyone who's, you know, in any way, shape, or form in the sales development world should definitely be there. And that's going to be in Boston on November 14th. So November 14th, OpenView office in Boston. Join us for a meetup, and we're looking for about 100 people to show up at that one. We're going to get an awesome keynote and a ton of networking, and you know, we want everybody in the sales development universe to be there. The day before in Boston, November 13th, I'm going to run a sales development manager workshop. It's basically for anyone who is a current sales development manager, sales development director, who's running a sales development program, for anyone who's team lead on a team, for anyone who's a rep who wants to become a manager, even if you're an executive and somebody just gave you the sales development program and you you got to be at this. We've run these quarterly for the last year or so, and we've built up an alumni of some of the, you know, the top talent of sales development management in Silicon Valley. I've run them only in San Francisco, San Jose, and LA. So this is the first East Coast one on November 13th. And if you go to tenbound.com, tenbound.com/events, the Eventbrite will be there. This is just, it's an amazing program. You learn a blueprint for putting a sales development program together that covers all the major aspects, from the culture of the team to onboarding, recruiting, training, managing the metrics, managing up, you know, working with executives at your company, you know, take personal development and branding to make sure that you're getting credit for your work, and working with sales development reps to make sure that they are doing the best job that they can for you on the team. And so if you go over to G2 Crowd and you type in Tenbound, there's a bunch of reviews up there for it. Check it out. If you're, again, trying to learn to run a sales development program, you got to be there November 13th in Boston. So that's enough about that. What I really wanted to talk to you guys about was the presentation that I did at the conference and the three major things that I talked about in my little speech. The actual speech itself is posted on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and just put in Tenbound, Tenbound, it's on there for free. If you go to, all the conference videos are posted. If you go to Vimeo, Vimeo, we have them all on there. You pay a small fee and you don't have to watch the commercials that they post on YouTube. But anyways, the speech was really well received. It was basically why we're doing this, why we're creating a sales development community, and why we're trying to get everyone together. Because as you know, if you followed any of my stuff, I am a huge proponent of sales development as a critical strategy versus what it is usually at companies, which is kind of an afterthought. After we've hired all the reps, we have really good marketing, our brand looks really good, we've hired all these salespeople, and we don't have any appointments. What are the salespeople going to do? So the salespeople are prospecting, but that's not necessarily the best use of their time because sales is itself a profession of itself that is a very difficult profession. And if you're spending all of your time prospecting, then that's not closing deals, which is what salespeople should do. And marketing, is doing a great job of establishing the brand, but at the same time, the salespeople's calendars are empty, and so nobody's building pipelines. So that's why more and more in the attention economy that we're in, if you listen to Gary Vaynerchuk at all, you're familiar with the attention economy. The attention economy it's getting harder and harder to get people's attention and thus get them interested in sitting down with you on a meeting. They're just inundated with too many things. There's too much competition right now in other sales development teams and lead generation companies and people knocking on their door. Executives are getting busier and busier. They don't have the same support mechanisms like administrative help that they used to in the past. So executives have to do everything themselves. And it's getting harder and harder to set a meeting with them. And so you have a situation where marketing might be hitting their KPIs. Sales is struggling because they don't have any appointments. And it's getting harder and harder to get executives' attention to sit down and make those appointments. So why is sales development still considered something that you think about later? What I propose is let's make it strategic. Let's make it important at the company. Let's give sales development a seat at the executive table. And let's understand what's available. So the first point that I made in the talk was, hey, we have support. We have an ecosystem in sales development right now that you may not even be aware of. We created a market map that you can download at tenbound.com. Just scroll down a little bit. It's free. It's ungated. It's a high-res PDF market map where you can analyze all the different solutions that are out there to help us. We've got not only technology solutions, but people solutions as far as marketing, onboarding, training. We've got boot camps that help get sales development reps up to speed. We have a ton of outsourced programs that can help to research and actually set appointments. There's a lot of support here, and I think we're just scratching the surface with knowing about these things, really analyzing them and understanding how they all work together. The other thing that I mentioned is there's private and public groups that are out there to support sales development that everyone should know about. I mean, the one of the biggest ones is Sales Hacker, which puts out a ton of really useful content. There's private groups such as Modern Sales Pros and the Sales Stack and Sales Development Pros Slack groups that are just full of support and information for people so that they can get better at sales development. And I announced that Tenbound also has a coaching program for sales development managers who are just needing a third-party person to hold them accountable and help them with strategy and to just be a sounding board, because usually the senior executives that they report to have never actually run a sales development program. So all they're looking for is, vanity metrics and results, and they can't really help, guide all this information and focus it to help the sales development manager. So we started a coaching program that's one-on-one, very specific. It's just a one call a week with a ton of homework. and it helps the sales manager to stay on track. And definitely when combined with the sales development management training that we do, it's a 1-2 punch to have that blueprint and then also have ongoing accountability. So there's a lot of support. The other couple things that made a huge impact in my speech at the conference was I proposed that you will see within the next few years, maybe sooner, the rise of the chief sales development officer. And this is my stake in the ground to say how important it is to think strategically about sales development and understand how to entwine all the different parts that go into getting someone to stop and take a meeting with one of your sales reps. It has to be a coordinated effort at the top of the organization between marketing, sales, the product development, when you think about freemium and taking that to a paid product, how's that work? They have to be in tune with the finance team so that they know what the budget is for this. And they have to, really get direction and work closely with the C-level to make sure that they're getting all the resources and focus that they need to be able to do this. Because otherwise, I just see it just either goes sideways or it doesn't work. And, it just becomes the responsibility of a very junior level person to do it. And they just don't have the abilities that being the higher level of the organization would afford them to be able to get the pipeline that they need. So when I showed this slide of the CSDO, the Chief Sales Development Officer, the whole room, 350 people went crazy. They all cheered. And it was like the highlight of the whole thing because people, all of a sudden, it's like, wait a minute, the sales development doesn't have to just be like a bus stop or some job that nobody else wants to do, or I'm just going to do this for a couple of years and get out. This could, not only could this be a very important career step, but these people that can run sales development teams effectively are so rare and so hard to find right now that, hey, supply and demand. Okay, your value to the organization just rose exponentially if you can do sales development effectively. So think about that. And then the last quick thing that I did in my talk was I talked about, okay, we've got this ecosystem that's there to help us. We've got group support. You could potentially get coaching. You could make yourself better. You could eventually become the chief sales development officer. And with all these resources, what my question was, who's going to take all this and run with it and be that first one? Who's going to be my example was Michael Jordan, who's going to be the Michael Jordan of sales development and, take all these things. So I don't know, Michael Jordan was cool in my day. I don't know who, like LeBron James or whoever is cool now, but who's going to take all these resources, pull them together and run with it. And I'm excited to see that because I think that'll happen. I think you'll probably see the first chief sales development officer at one of they're older now, but the Salesforce, the LinkedIn, the .coms of the 2000s that now have these, 100, 200 person sales development organizations. And, I bet if you looked at it, the numbers, the results are declining as far as like the number of appointments and the amount of pipeline, because it's getting harder and harder to get those meetings with people as the sales development industry has exploded. And like I said, executives are more busy. It's getting harder to do. And somebody at the top of these organizations is going to realize, hey, holy cow, like if our sales people's calendars are empty, we are completely screwed because we're paying them a lot of money and they don't have net new appointments to work on and stuff like that. So they're going to look at that and go, we need to address this immediately. This is the top priority to get those calendars full, get the pipeline flowing, and get the sales going. So they're going to appoint someone to be maybe not the chief sales development officer, but some like super high level position to coordinate all this and get it going. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see you at the next sales development conference. I was shocked. I mean, there's, according to InsideSales.com, there's 677,000 sales development reps or people that work around sales development in the United States. And it's tricky to run those reports because People call it business development, account development. They call it all these different things, and it could be confused with other professions. But even if there's, 100,000 or 200,000 sales development reps, and then you look at LinkedIn came out recently with one stat that said, it's like one of the top 5 growing positions in the United States. And LinkedIn is pretty good data because you actually put it in yourself. So it's kind of crowdsourced. So in any case, there's a lot of us out there. We're all trying to do the same things. It's getting harder and harder. There's not a lot of information. There's, not some confusion about what we do. But I think, like I said, the support is growing. The ecosystem is growing. The opportunities are growing. And it's an amazing time to be in sales development. And I'm really excited to be in it. So looking forward, Tenbound is going to be really, really strong in doing research on the industry, on our little, sales development niche, releasing research reports, updating the market map, providing, vendor buying guides and running conferences and just continuing to beat the drum on the importance of this community and the opportunities that it has for people that are in it, like people that listen to this podcast. So thank you for jumping on. And in the next one, we'll go back to the format of doing interviews. And I'm excited to, as we get toward 100 podcasts on the Sales Development Podcast, I've been talking to people about, hey, how do we mix this up? How do we refresh the podcast? How do we make it more interesting for people that are, listening to the interviews and just want like a different format and stuff? So I'm looking at bringing in like a co-host. I'd love to figure out how to do a call-in show. I guess you can do one on Facebook Live. I'm not crazy about doing videos because my face is more better for audio. But one other thing too on these podcasts is, if you didn't know it, we post all the transcripts, like bullet pointed. They're not word for word, but they're bullet pointed, summary transcripts over at daviddulany.com. That's David, DULANY.com/podcast. And so if, you skim through there and you see like a section that you need help with, or they're talking about something that you're dealing with, then you can just skip to that part. It's all right there. And yeah, I want this to be super valuable to you and you to continue to get value from it. And so we're going to try to mix it up, make it more interesting, more fun, and more valuable moving forward. So those are some things that we're working on here. I'm really excited, obviously, and I just appreciate you, what you do, and I hope that this stuff helps you to move your career forward in sales development, because that's what we're trying to do, and hopefully to make the experience better for people out there by making sales development more sophisticated than, just sending out like blasted templated emails and like making terrible cold calls. Improving it for the people out there that we're talking to so that it's more targeted, more customized, more valuable for them as well. So thanks a lot. And if you want to get in touch with me, just go to tenbound.com/contact or hit me in the Drift chat box. And that's usually me on there unless I'm sleeping. So I'm happy to help, and I hope to see you guys at the next meetup or training event.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Development Podcast, the only audio forum 100% focused and dedicated to sales development, with your host, David Dulany. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on YouTube and take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes. Your support makes our show possible. If you are struggling with your sales development program, contact us at tenbound.com for a no-obligation exploratory call. Again, that's tenbound.com.